Okay, let's get started. Welcome everyone to today's webinar, How to Maximize Account Utilization and Build Multi-Product Relationships. I'm joined by Matt Ballou, Chief Revenue Officer at WyHy Federal Credit Union, Sara Smith, Vice President of Marketing at United Mississippi Bank, Ted Brown, Co-Founder and CEO at Digital Onboarding, and I'm Laurie McLachlan, Chief Marketing Officer at Digital Onboarding. Today, we're going to talk about the path to profitable and engaged relationships and what it takes to get there. We're also going to talk about some real and solvable roadblocks that can get in your way. We're going to give you a quick personalized self-service onboarding tour. And we're also going to do a Q&A. So at the bottom of your screen, you'll see a Q&A feature. And if you enter your questions there, we'll make sure to address them. This presentation is also being recorded, and you'll receive a copy of that recording by the end of the week. Now I'm going to hand it over to Ted.
Great. Thanks so much, Laurie. And thanks everyone for joining us today. So when we talk about relationships, they come in all shapes, sizes, all different types of banking products. And we'll talk about all of those as a platform to engage with all of your relationships. But one to highlight out of the gate is really the checking relationship, because when we dig into that relationship, we can see some very clear gaps, low-hanging fruit to solve as a financial institution. It's also a really important relationship. It's still considered the household relationship account that deeper, more profitable relationships are built upon. So when you look at checking accounts, industry-wide by the numbers, there's a huge problem with first-year attrition. By the numbers, about 25 to 40% of checking accounts will close within the very first year that they're opened. So that's a blended rate. It doesn't count. It includes people who walked into your branch, had a conversation, had a cup of coffee. It also includes people who just went to your website for a few minutes to click through an application. We see that this is a problem throughout the channels, whether someone came in through a branch or online, but the problem can certainly be heightened in the digital world, where people are just very quickly opening up an account and not following through with a lot of the follow-on services that make for a true, sticky, profitable relationship. So taking people through all of the steps to fully utilize a product like that, pay their bills, set up payments, have their paychecks deposited into their account. So we'll center the start of our conversation around that household relationship account and talk through how it's really important to cement that relationship from the second an account is opened, so that you can continue to engage with the household and serve them for multiple products and financial needs. If you look at this problem from the customer or member's perspective, it becomes obvious that we can do a much better job of guiding that user through the path. It can often seem like a very disjointed process. They've opened the account and now they have to go through and enroll in a lot of these additional services to actually use it. So piecing that together in a much more elegant way, a digital way, a modern way to remove the friction from enrolling in these tools as well is really critical.
And Ted, I just wanted to kind of pause there and say a couple things and ask Sara something. Just for the audience, like this is a big deal. So like checking accounts being the gateway to a primary relationship, the average American has had their checking account since 2005, right? Before smartphones were a thing, before mobile banking, before all the money you spent in digital, they still had their accounts for 17 years. So when they come to your institution and open a new checking account, that is a golden opportunity and one that we don't want to waste. And I wanted to ask Sara, I've talked to a lot of institutions that maybe are aware of the friction problem, but they think they're solving it with some emails or some voicemails or a couple of mailers. Talk to me about how you view the friction problem and the role that United Mississippi takes in helping its customers.
Now 6 years in marketing my entire career, but learning with banking and going through the process of onboarding someone when they open their account, is that a lot of times there's just not a lot of time to go through the products, go through the cross-selling. You don't get those moments always. It can take quite a long time. So for us, this is an opportunity definitely to decrease attrition, but a lot of times it's really to make sure the customers know what all we have to offer. I mean, we're giving them a much better platform to learn more about the bank.
Yeah.
Than just what they're going to learn that first time they're in there. So not only will it help with new customers, we're also planning for it to help.
Yeah. Sara, I can make out what you're saying, but I know you're en route. Do you want to try using your phone instead?
Absolutely. I'll call in right now.
All right.
Sorry about that.
Don't be sorry. All right.
Great. So this problem, as you can see, is very clear by the numbers, but it's a problem very well worthwhile solving. If we can do a better job of guiding a new customer member through the process of actively using that account, they are 4 times more likely to turn to your financial institution for future financial needs. So by the numbers, 1 in 3 existing customer members will turn to a competitor for their other products. So it's so critical that we engage with them, we stay engaged with the household, so we're top of mind when they buy a house and are looking for a mortgage, or buy a car and are looking for an auto loan. We know that if they actively use a checking account, it's a good chance they will turn to their financial institution. But we, of course, have to stay engaged to make sure that they don't forget that they have a relationship where they can get a great rate from.
Yeah, and Ted, I know that it almost feels like every institution measures customer or member engagement differently. Some people count the number of services, number of products. I'd love for Matt to share the approach that WyHy takes, because it's pretty data-driven and I think pretty solid. Matt, will you kind of tell us how your institution measures engagement and what you track?
Yeah, of course. We look at a lot of the common items that everybody looks at, right? We look at the services per account or services per household. But we also look at what we call average total relationship, because we feel that is a strong indicator of the likelihood, right? Are they 1 in 3 that are going to go to a competitor? Are they going to come back to us? The more business that they have with us at any given time, the more likely they are to come back to us. You know, and when I ask people, you know, where do you work? And they return and I say, I work at WyHy. And they say, oh, I've got a loan there. That's fantastic. I'm happy you do. But that kind of hurts my feelings. It's the ones that say, I bank there. Those are the ones that have an active checking account and will give us a crack at their next product that they're looking for. So I absolutely agree with Ted. An active checking account is it's instrumental in the relationship.
Yeah, and you know, I've been working with institutions on this problem for years, and I can tell you that a lot of times a bank or credit union will tell me my cross-sell campaign didn't work. It was a bad campaign. And the first thing I say was, are you sure those were relationships in the first place? Because that is probably why your cross-sell campaigns aren't working. And so we want to get this right. Okay, we're going to take time here, a few seconds for a first poll question. Which of the following are strategic priorities for your bank or credit union? You can check off as many as you have, and thinking ahead to 2023, if you've got some new ones, feel free to pick those as well. Give it a few seconds here. All right, people are still voting. Okay, let's reveal the answers. All right, so definitely better new customer and member experience. And a lot of these seem to be a priority, which is good to hear. You're in the right place.
Great. So as we get deeper into this conversation, what we really want to focus on is the experience from the second that a customer opens an account, and really on an ongoing basis. So if you would think of all the efforts that you put into the top of the acquisition funnel, awareness marketing, making sure people know about your brand, the variety of systems that you invest in to originate loans or open deposit accounts, all of those would plug into this engagement platform that we'll be talking about. And we like to say that onboarding starts from the second an account is open, and it really ought not ever end. This is a platform to focus on driving organic growth, and particularly in this environment, it is so critical to make sure that you make the most out of every single account that's opened. We know it is so much more expensive to go and replace a fish that's already on the hook that gets away. And so this can be a much better investment of putting that effort towards making sure that all the effort that you put to get them in the door in the first place doesn't go to waste.
Yeah, and Ted, I just wanted to say, I feel like nationally, financial institutions are taking a few different approaches to growth. They're either having to acquire way more new accounts to make up for all the people that never activate and never use them, or they have to bribe people with cash bonus offers just to get people to go through the pain of using their products, or smart people are investing in fixing the onboarding problem.
Absolutely. So let's talk about solutions. So this platform's built on the concept of a personalized digital guide that's created for every relationship. You get to that guide through things like reminders, text messages, emails, pings when they've logged into online banking. But the real key is that it's not enough just to remind people. Those texts and those emails will lead to this digital personal guide that we'll show you live in an example. And once they're in there, there's so much more that we can do to remove the friction from adopting these services, to actually make it easier for the user to set up direct deposits or download the mobile banking app, or really take the action that's such critical for them at that point in time in the relationship. So my guide can look entirely different from yours. It's all driven by the data, which we'll talk about where it comes from, to really deliver a personalized digital frictionless experience to each user. So just to highlight a couple of my favorite parts, there's a series of widgets that you can place within your guide. One that we're really excited to roll out right now, actually, is a brand new widget, is this enrollment process that you can attach to any backend system to make the process of signing up for something simple like e-statements or courtesy pay, or agree to the terms of a new card product, really simple. We built this because in the past we identified this through our bank and credit union partners as a big gap. Often we'd be reminding people to do something like set up e-statements. It's a critical goal. As soon as you get someone to agree to do that, you save $2 every month just in print and mail expenses. It's such a simple thing. It should be such a simple thing to just sign up for, but often we were linking people out to a completely broken process, a portal that they couldn't find, and you'd completely lose them. So we're really excited about this. It can be used for so many of these different, very simple services that make a huge difference for the relationship, right from that digital guide without having to log into online banking, without having to remember your PIN. You can simply opt in to a simple service like that.
Yeah, and everyone that's on this webinar, you're the first to hear about it because we're announcing it publicly to the market tomorrow. I'm really excited about it just as a marketer. I wanted to ask Matt, I know that I gave you a preview of this idea, and tell us what you think of it and how it might benefit WyHy.
I think it's awesome. A lot of times people say, with the digital age that users or members are lazy. I don't think people are lazy. I think we're distracted. And I think oftentimes banking is considered a task. It's not a destination, right? Nobody wakes up in the morning excited to sign up for e-statements. It's just something that we have to do. And when there's friction in a process, if you're going to link me to a site that I then have to log into, navigate to the right drop-down menu, like I get distracted, right? That is too much friction. And so to have this process that at a click of a button completes it for me and I can get on to the rest of my day, it's huge. It's fantastic.
Yeah, awesome.
I think you put it well. E-statements is not something super exciting to do, but these little things that you can make them easy, they make a huge difference to the profitability of a relationship. So really excited about that. The next one I want to highlight. The next one I'll highlight, this is a favorite of mine as well. There's these easy widget you can drop into any of your pages that makes it super simple with a couple clicks to set up direct deposits. So we all know how critical direct deposits is to a primary relationship. Someone's paycheck's not arriving in the checking account they've opened at your institution, it's probably going somewhere else. And this really simplifies that process where a user can instantly, without having to even remember what their account number is, will prompt them to log into their payroll provider and place those credentials on file. I'll talk a little bit more about this in the live demo, but I just wanted to highlight it because it's one of my favorites.
Yeah, and I wanted to ask Sara, we were chatting about direct deposits and how United Mississippi Bank thinks about them. I know we have her on the line. Sara, did you want to weigh in on this?
Yeah, I'd like to, that and the e-statements as well. We've had a situation at our bank where we went with a new vendor for e-statements, and everyone that had e-statements had to re-enroll. So as you said, that friction, busyness in our lives, that is cost us a lot of money. And so now I'm so excited about this because I believe that we're going to really increase our enrollment and re-enrollment for people that used to have them through this process. I'm very excited about that, as well as direct deposits too, because that's obviously we need to think about revenue on the deposit side of our banks right now. We've got so many issues coming up with overdraft and non-sufficient funds and all that. So getting more usage and more direct deposits, obviously, and we'll get into this, I'm sure, a little bit more later with the debit card usage too. So we're thrilled about this. Thank you.
That's great to hear. I know we had some customers really capitalize big on Amazon Prime Day. We're getting people ready for the holidays, so it's a great opportunity.
Great. So again, when we're looking at proxies for primacy, one of those keys is money coming into that account. It's also money going out of that account. So making sure people are actually using the checking account at your bank for a meaningful purpose to pay their bills. And that's what this next feature is that I really like, because more and more consumers are paying their bills with a card. They're not using bill pay as much, which is a really good thing because card transactions are revenue generators for the financial institution. So if you can get the card that you've issued to this user on file at Amazon or Hulu or Netflix, that's how people are paying their bills. 80% of consumers have a card stored on file at one of these common merchants. And if it can be your bank card, you're guaranteed interchange revenue from those transactions that happen every month. And it's also a real key to a sticky primary relationship.
And it's great for new cards, but Matt, I know WyHy is using it for another interesting use case. Tell us what you're doing for lost or stolen cards.
Yeah, the sad reality of working at a financial institution is that your members suffer fraud, right? And if anybody on this call doesn't have that issue, please reach out to me and let me know how you're doing it. It's terrible. That member goes through one, it's a stressful situation. They look at their account and they see that they're missing money. They reach out to us and we do our best to try to rectify the situation, right? We get them their money back, but then we have to issue them a new debit card. And that is a hassle. Like many people, I have just about all of my payments tied to my debit card. I've got them loaded into, I mean, right there, I can see 3 on that list that you're showing that have my debit card information stored. And so that's a big pain to have to go in and manually update each of those merchants, those websites, et cetera, with my new card number. So we utilize a digital onboarding journey to automatically go out to these members who we've issued a new card number to, that walks them right through this. You can see, I mean, it is simple. You go find your merchant, you plug in the info, and you're done. So again, it removes friction. That's really how we try to utilize it and what it solved for us.
Great.
Fantastic. This next one, again, on the theme of removing friction, when we started to dig in to why do people take time out of their day to open up a bank account and not follow through with some pretty darn common sense things like logging into online banking? Well, it turned out one of the biggest problems was they couldn't remember their account number. And that turns out to be a really important piece of information to use a bank account. Often it's required to enroll in online banking for the very first time. And if you think about this, this makes a lot of sense, particularly if the account was opened online. You often will flash the new account number on the screen. Unless you memorize it or jotted it down, you just don't remember what it is. So we built into this platform the ability to create secure personalizations in these personalized guides, where you can share sensitive information like an account number in a secure temporary fashion, so the user can complete the action that they're trying to do, like enroll in online banking for the first time or set up direct deposits. And then you can mask it so it doesn't, it's not revealed to anyone else. So it really is a flexible feature. If you could think about any time you wish you could have emailed someone something like an account number, but of course you can't, because the second it's in an email, it's out there forever. They can be delivered in these personalized guides to really improve the experience and help people with the information they need at the point in the time that they need it.
Yeah, and another great use case for this feature, anyone on this call that offers digital account opening, I happen to know that your abandonment rate is probably 65 to 90%. So an awesome use case is to trigger an instant message that links to a page where you can securely reveal their application ID so they can resume their saved app.
Absolutely. So many different ways you can use this. But again, that account number is one of those critical ones. I think about 7% of calls into a call center are just for someone to find out what their account number is. And it doesn't count all the people who didn't bother to call. They just gave up on it, used the account that they had open previously. This next one is another great feature available. It's an easy way to find the right mobile app. Turns out there's a lot of financial institutions that have similar sounding names. So someone might open up a bank account, search for the wrong app in the store, download the wrong app for a different institution, and get really frustrated when they can't use it. So you can easily take them to the right app for your financial institution, get them to start using it right away.
Yeah, and this is how it would look if you visit the page on desktop, but if you're already on your mobile device, all of this just turns into click to install, which is really neat. And if you have multiple apps, like you have a rewards app and you have your mobile banking app, this could also be a useful tool.
This next feature here that I wanted to highlight is something I really love thematically, is really trying to marry the digital with the personal, particularly for community banks and credit unions. We have a connection with the community, and we don't want to sever that connection by pushing everything online or trying to go digital with everything. But we can deliver the same service that you deliver in person from the convenience of one's own home. So if you look at a digital medium like this, as opposed to simply sending an email reminder or a text message reminder, when you're in one of these digital guides that will show you, you can easily embed any sort of video chat, have your personal banker pop up on the screen so you can actually see the person. They can start co-browsing, taking over the screen for the user, completing some of these actions for them. So it's such a great opportunity to improve that level of service and marry the personal with the digital. We are really delivering the same level of service as you would if someone walked into a branch, but from the comfort of their home. Lastly, something we're really excited about is what we call cross-channel engagement. So it's really important to keep in mind that, when we're trying to get someone to complete an action, we really want to do it on their time. When is the most appropriate channel, place, time for them to do something like set up e-statements? And it may be when they log into online banking. It may also be a different point in time. So with these digital guides, we can facilitate the process without having them to log in online banking. But if they're logging into online banking, that's another great opportunity to remind that user, hey, while you're here to check your balance, you also have a couple more steps that you should consider finishing to get the most out of this product you're logging into. And that's where you can really coordinate the whole in-app and out-of-app onboarding and engagement experience.
Yeah, and Ted, the beauty of this is that it's all synced so that if someone completes a step inside online banking or outside, it's tracked the same way, and that member or customer will not get any more messages about that step. The system will automatically move on to the next best action.
So we talked a lot about the checking account, making sure it sticks, it's activated after someone asks for one. But once they're actively utilizing that product, it's so critical to stay engaged, to make sure that your institution is top of mind when they're in market for another financial need. So you can really pair the system with data such as credit bureau data, where if one of your existing customers or members is pulling credit somewhere else to ask for a mortgage, for example, but they haven't asked your institution for one yet, really delivering a tailored outreach to say, hey, did you know that you can get a mortgage from your financial institution? We know who you are. You're pre-approved. You've got great rates. Come back and consider your institution. I've had a lot of success with these type of tailored outreaches to really personalize the experience and stay top of mind to build a much deeper relationship.
I wanted to bring Matt in here because I'm pretty impressed with how WyHy is using transaction data to deliver personalized cross-sell offers. Matt, can you tell us what you're doing?
Yeah, when we look at marketing, I guess the secret to success, right, is how do you deliver a message that is timely and relevant to that member? You're missing either one of those, and you're probably missing the mark with your targeted marketing. What we do, we utilize the data that's already in our core, right? We know where our members shop, where they're spending their money, et cetera. And so we've taken the approach that we say, when are these members shopping at a home improvement store, a Home Depot, a Lowe's, kind of a box store? And when we identify that, we can send them a very specific message that talks about the equity in their house and using possibly a home equity line of credit. Now we've even taken that a little bit further because of what digital onboarding allows us to do, and we can specify which market we're sending that message to. And with a little bit of research, we can say, hey, the equity in your home has increased on average 44% in the last year. That is real numbers that we can give to that member to help make that decision. And it really does boil down to, now it's a relevant message delivered at the right time that allows them to take action.
That's how to do cross-sell. Sara, I think you're still with us. I know we've talked a bit about cross-sell. Did you want to weigh in here? Perhaps we lost her. Okay, let's keep going.
All right, great. Another one of the gaps we found in working with all of our financial solution partners is that it's a challenge to build a database of existing customers or members that you can actually digitally communicate with. A lot of reasons people still send print postcards or letters is not because we think it's super effective and cost efficient. It's just because we don't have our customers or members opted into receiving emails or text messages. It's often more so the case that you're able to email your customers or members, but you haven't yet asked them for permission to send a text, particularly for people who opened the account 5-10 years ago before texting was really prevalent. Of course, you didn't think of asking for their permission. So we built a really simple feature where in each of the campaigns that you run, you could dynamically have a opt-in message pop up to that user if and only if we know we need to ask for permission to send a text, for example. And it takes them through an easy, compliant way to opt in to receiving future communications or alerts or reminders via text message, which by the numbers we know is highly effective. Everyone opens up the text messages. A lot of emails get buried. So over time, through a feature like this, you can continually build your database of members and customers that you can communicate with via a text channel.
Yeah, and we, as Ted said, we know that when people get a text message, click-through rates are through the roof, way higher than what you'd see with email. And Matt, I know you have a strong opinion on this, and I know you're using text. You want to share any advice here?
Yeah, I was laughing to myself as Ted was going over this slide. If you were to ask me how many emails I've received today, I couldn't tell you, right? I don't look at them, but I can tell you that I've gotten a text message while I've been on this call because it came to my watch and it distracted me. I had to look at it, right? That's how we operate. No, if you're not able to utilize a text message in your targeted marketing, you're rowing up the river, right? It's tough. People will look at a text message and they will take action on it. Most emails are going to be deleted without ever being looked at.
Yeah, and for those of you on the line that aren't yet doing text messages, maybe you've got a conservative compliance department, maybe you're nervous about schmishing. We've got a webinar next week, Wednesday, the 21st at 1 p.m. Eastern about this topic. We're going to talk to you about how to manage the fraud risks and reap the benefits of text messaging. We'll share a link to that event when you get our follow-up email with the recording.
Great. So we've highlighted a lot of at least my favorite features that are available within this platform, but now I really want to give a live demo of it so you can actually see some of these in action and how they actually would look, how they would actually work. I'll only spend a couple minutes on it so that we can come back to the conversation, but I'll stick with that thread that we were talking about. What could the experience look like for someone who just opens up a checking account, and how could a platform like this really make it a more modern onboarding process? So we'll start off, it could be an instant email, an instant text message that welcomes that new person to the institution, or it could be linked right at the end of a digital account opening process, or you can get this right where you're face-to-face in a branch. Either way, as soon as the account's open, the system would generate a personalized guide for that person. So what you see on the screen here, of course, it's all fully branded for the institution, and for the individual, we've lined up the common steps that you would typically want someone to do or consider at this point in time. So my guide can look entirely different from yours. If I've already started using direct deposits, that's not going to appear in my guide, for example. And in this first step here, for example, if we've already collected the permission to send a text message, it's not going to include the first step that you see on this page, which is, hey, before we get started, we don't have your mobile number yet. Why don't you submit that? It takes them through a compliant process to opt into future alerts via text message. Now, for the remaining steps that you see in this guide, because we've captured their permission up front, we can send them reminders to come back to the guide if they haven't completed any of these steps. And we can send it via both text and email to keep this top of mind until they've completed their process. You can also see in this particular guide, which again, the whole experience is very flexible, but in this sample, we have a ring in the upper right that's advancing towards a completion percentage. So we're keeping track for the user of exactly what they have completed and what they still have to do. So each time one of these key objectives on the left is completed, that ring is going to advance toward the completion percentage. If you run any sort of incentive, bonuses, things like that, we can also help people track towards those bonuses, whether it's a point system or cash bonuses, really different ways to experiment and improve the efficacy of your campaigns. The next step here, we talked about this before, it's direct deposits, such a critical proxy for primacy. And really our goal here is to help them complete this action however they want. So there's a couple, you can picture a text message the next day at noon. That's probably when the user's at work. That's probably when we need to remind them to set up their paycheck into the new account they opened. That alert would bring them back to a page like this. And there's a few options. We have this handy dandy instant process, which I previewed before. It's a way to take the user and have them either through their payroll provider or their employer's portal, put in their credentials. So sign in with their credentials for their HR portal, like ADP, and without having to remember what their password is. And remember, that's one of the key gaps that often people have, is they can't remember their account number. We can just pass that under the hood to the payroll provider, put that information on file, so instantly the next paycheck will arrive in this account. So that can just take a couple seconds. Do it on the page while they're here. Alternatively, if they don't have a self-service portal, or they don't want to do it that way, they want to do it the way that they remembered doing it last time, which is usually through contacting HR, filling out a form from HR. What they're often missing there is that they can't remember their account number. So below, we're just giving them all the information that they would need to fill out the form with HR, the address, routing number, and you can see this click to reveal button. This is that masked secure personalization that through a small temporary security token will reveal that on the page temporarily so they can fill out their HR form and complete this goal. Next, to show you live how this worked, and we had a few questions about that come in through the chat.
Yeah, Ted, we had one about passwords, and I know you're about to demonstrate how this works.
That's right, yep. So we had a question come in about passwords. So the way that this actually works is you select all of the merchants that you use, Amazon, Netflix, Spotify, I use all of these. It'll prompt you to put your card details in once, so you don't have to repeat that multiple times. And then yes, it will prompt you right on this page to log into each of those sites. So submit your credentials, your username and password for Spotify, Netflix, and Amazon. And as soon as you hit submit, it'll put that on file under the hood. And now your next payment will come out of that card. So next time Netflix sends you a bill, it's coming off the card that you just put on file there. Next up here, this user hasn't logged into online banking yet. So it's prompting them to complete that enrollment process. In this case, which is often the case for most financial institutions, the user is going to need their account number to complete that enrollment process. So again, we're giving them access to all the information they need, reveal your account number, and they'll enroll for the very first time. Now they know how to get into online banking, and you can engage with them in that channel.
Yeah, and this is also a great place. A lot of you, I'm sure, have like educational videos on how to use certain features, whether they're online banking, mobile banking. It's so easy to embed videos on these pages. All you do is paste the link and it neatly frames itself.
Absolutely. Now, the next example here is a quick and easy way to find the right mobile banking app, download it and start using it. So on the desktop, you can click send me a link, put in your mobile number, it fires off a text message with a link in it. You tap that link and you download the right app for your phone. Alternatively, you can expand the QR code, point your phone at the screen, and it's going to take you to the right app. And as Laurie mentioned earlier, if we're already on our phone, all of this just turns into an install button. You tap the install button and it downloads the right app for you from Google Play Store or the Apple iOS store. Last one here. This is very commonly included in these types of activation campaigns. If the user hasn't opted out of paper statements yet, we want to remind them to do that because it's instant savings. It's more secure for delivering this via digital means rather than paper means. And of course, we're saving money and the planet. So this is that enrollment widget where instead of even having to link them out to another process, for something simple like agreeing to receive your statements via e-statements rather than print, we can just collect that right on the screen without having to take them away to any other site or ask them to log into any other system. We can just capture that right from this page.
Ted, I just wanted to quickly answer one of the questions because it's relevant right here. So you're all seeing the desktop version, as Ted mentioned, but this is mobile responsive. So if you're accessing the same site from a mobile device, whether it's an iPad or an iPhone, it's all going to scale to display perfectly.
Yeah, so it displays both obviously the design. You see, as I shrink the size of my browser, the images change, the lineups change, so it's still a great experience. And the functionality will change as well. So obviously the images are changing. I'm staying on a desktop, but if I was on a mobile phone, for example, this send me the link button turns into an install button, and you just click the install button and it completes the action for you. And the last step in this particular sample is a quick opportunity to collect some feedback while the user's engaged. How are we doing? How can we better service you? Any multiple choice questions or free form questions that can really help you learn more or service this relationship better can be included in a step like this. So for this particular user who just opened up a checking account, they've completed all these key steps and we consider them to be fully engaged within that product. We may continue to engage with the user, send them a different series of steps down the road to build that relationship and deepen that relationship. But really critically, we actually have a true relationship. We've turned this account opener into an engaged account holder that we can build that relationship down the road.
Yeah, and one of my favorite ways to use this survey is to discover additional needs. So as you know, someone just comes into your institution, let's find out what else they need help with. And then you can automatically retarget that customer or member with a cross-sell offer that we know is relevant.
Great. So this is a quick example of what it might look like from the end user experience. Of course, there's much more to the system. We're both keeping track of this process for the customer or member themselves. We're also keeping track of it for you. So there's a question involved in the Q&A chat from David about tracking the process. Getting the data, the right data to know where people are, and that is really critical. So not just to be able to provide to the end user exactly what they have and haven't done, but also to provide internally, and what I like to say, shine a flashlight on any problems. That's where a lot of the gap is. We can't see the problem, so we can't solve the problem. And so through a system like this, we can accept files from multiple systems to piece that puzzle together for you, so you have a much clearer view in the back office as to where each customer member is along the journey, where there might be problems, and where you might need to address them.
And just to get it a little deeper into David's question, he was also asking, in a situation where all the data that he needs doesn't live in a single database, it would take work to manually assemble that. But I know our platform can handle multiple files. You want to talk about that? Yeah.
So as I mentioned, it really depends on what your objectives are. And often it is the case that you can't get the feedback data. Has this member completed, enrolled in online banking yet? That may or may not come from your core system, may come from an online banking system or a different database. So it's very often the case where we're receiving data from multiple systems, aggregating it all in our API so that we can provide an intelligent engagement process to the user and a clear picture to the institution as to where everyone is along that process.
And Ted, I'm going to bring up one more question just while we're in here. This is from Brian. Can we add business bank customers to the direct deposit employer list? And I know with every implementation, we ask for your top 200 employers that aren't in the list, and we can automatically add them for you. So I think that's the answer.
Yes, for the direct deposits piece. Yeah, it currently has quite a bit of coverage, but there is a process to add any specific ones, and particularly for community banks or credit unions who serve specific segs. That's a great way. And also, This is a relatively new feature, but we can tailor the list specifically to employers that you serve, which also really increases that user experience where they don't have to choose from a really long list. If you know these are the employers that you serve, you can have specifically it tailored to those, and that'll help increase adoption.
Great. And I'm just going to take this last question before you move back, before you move on from David. So he's just asking, you know, when we're talking to an institution about the platform, you know, do we typically talk about our platform as an expense or as something that can replace other costs that maybe aren't getting you to where you need to go? And the answer is both. So we have a pretty neat ROI tool that's based on some pretty solid industry data about assumptions. And we can work with you on it. But yeah, absolutely, we displace costs, particularly if you're doing anything like phone calls, mailers, printed brochures, all that stuff. And we can walk you through the assumptions and be as conservative or aggressive as you like with them. I hope I answered your question. We've replaced email systems before. I mean, you can send all your emails out of our system or you can keep it for other reasons. It's really up to you, but we can talk you through all that.
Yeah, there's definitely a ton of different ways to derive value from the system. Running, we just showed one example of many different types of campaigns that can really, improve, a return from engaging with those customers. And as Laurie mentioned, you can often find this in a print budget. Print's very expensive. If you're sending a letter from the president, postcards about online banking, those things add up. And, if you're really looking to, shift budget, there's often opportunities to do that.
Yeah, the print stuff, and it doesn't really work, right? They might read it or they might not, particularly with M&A events, system upgrades, where you've got a lot of communications going out that are paper-based, we can help there. David also asked about CRM systems. I think he's asking about replacing a CRM or perhaps getting data in from a CRM, but I think you answered that part of it. We do have customers using our system as a CRM, but not all of them. Ted, do you want to say anything about that?
Yeah, I think that this is a good complement to a CRM. Most institutions are in some stage of evaluating to moving to some sort of CRM, every stage except for completing that project. So I think that if you look at a broader CRM, they're used in many different ways. Sometimes it's just used by the bank as a support thing, where their support department keeps track of the customers and members there. But this is really an engagement platform. It's for focusing on these critical value driving tasks rather than the many other broader servicing things that you might use a CRM for. Great. So we answered a good amount of the questions there, and we'll return to the Q&A towards the end. So keep on typing them into your chat. But wanted to go back and just cover a few additional things before we get to the remaining questions.
Yeah, we're getting close to the end here. I got my final poll question. This one we are not gonna, oh no, sorry, this is the second one. Does your bank or credit union have an objective to fully engage a greater percentage of new account openers? And you can answer this for 2022 or even looking ahead to 2023. And we'll give it just a minute to collect some responses here. I know you're probably just entering planning season. Okay, we can reveal those answers. So yeah, of the people that voted, most people are saying yes. I'm not surprised. That's typically a top objective for most institutions, so that's good to hear.
Great. So one thing we haven't mentioned yet, but I think is so important, is that we really only work with financial institutions. So our team knows what it's like to work at a bank or at a credit union. And we really see ourselves as an extension of your team. Tools like this are only as good as the people behind them who can help you use them. So that's something we really focus on as a company, is making sure that we're partnering with you and you're getting the most out of a system like this for your unique needs as a bank or a credit union. And to give you an example, we're up to close to 100 different banks and credit unions who run this platform. So our account management team, who works really closely with each of our partners, they've seen a lot of different uses. So they can come to the table with some ideas that you may not have thought about yet. Different ways to engage with your membership or your customer base that they saw successful at an institution that looked just like yours, but maybe you hadn't thought of it yet. So the platform scales on a technology level for institutions of all sizes, small to large financial institutions, and the team's very familiar with working with financial institutions and your unique needs.
Yeah, and the Digital Onboarding YouTube channel is stuffed with videos of our customers talking about the platform, talking about the team, talking about what strategies they're using. So check it out there. I just wanted to pause for a second and bring Sara back in, because I know I talked with her a bit about her shopping process and what she thinks about the platform. And I'd love to just kind of have her share some final thoughts.
Laurie, was that for me?
That was for you.
Okay, yay. I'm actually on here and it didn't drop, so I'm very thankful. I apologize to everybody for it, and thank you for your patience with us. But yes, we have not quite at the stage of implementation, but we are really, really close. And I just want to kind of give a general overview of everything, why we chose this company and how the process has gone to getting this program implemented. But we chose this company. We had been working with another company, I won't name names, and had been through a very long process to try to get it implemented. And there was a lot of problems with our core, and we have a Jack Henry core with this company. And by the time we almost got it figured out, I told my IT director that I really feel like this is almost antiquated. I mean, this is not modern. This is not what we really need to onboard our customers. He had just happened to get an email from Digital Onboarding and sent it to me. And I said, oh my God, we're setting up a demo today. And we set up a demo and we were sold. He and I both were sold right away. So from that process on, it's, they really try to get this done in 4 weeks. And the only thing that slowed us down slightly is just a couple of things on our side, but nothing major. It has been a very simple process. And for those of you concerned about compliance, I have probably one of the most thorough compliance departments of any bank. And they've been, it's not been a hard process with them. So, we believe this will engage our customers. We live in, my area is rural area. We've got 9 locations. And so by the time someone comes in to open an account with all the regs and everything and the conversations, because we pretty much know everybody in our markets, there's no cross-selling that's been done. And a lot of times they haven't even signed up for online banking. So we just see this as this will pay for itself, not that long of a time because of the additional revenue that'll be created. And then the engagement, the engagement of having the customer, tie into multiple products that your bank offers right away, that will definitely decrease attrition. So, I could go on and on, but I'm going to stop now. And I just want to, and I've learned new things today, actually, and which also quickly, reminds me that this company is going to keep moving forward and doing more and more things that will make this even a better product. So thank y'all for listening.
Thanks, Sara. And I appreciate you you dialing in. I know you've got a busy schedule today. Matt, I just want to bring you in just for a final comment. Everyone on the phone is probably, like I said, entering planning season for next year. This is probably maybe for a lot of them the first time seeing the platform. What advice do you have to share with the audience?
I really appreciated David's question. I'm very skeptical when it comes to the numbers as well, right? And so if I can kind of talk very candidly when we went through the ROI calculator initially with digital onboarding, it came back ridiculous. And it was based on industry averages. And we said, hold on, digital onboarding, we aren't average, right? We're better, we're whatever. And so we worked through the process and recalculated that ROI, and it came from ridiculous down to just really good. And that really good did not account for, we eliminated a member survey vendor that we were utilizing. We eliminated an outgoing email vendor that we were utilizing. And how we really talk about it internally is, where do we have a lot of costs, especially in the member acquisition, that onboarding, right? You've got your frontline staff who are having to research an account, see what a member has done. They try to call that member. Hopefully they get them on the phone. If not, they leave a voicemail. And we do that several times within the first few months. That's expensive. Now we can automate the whole process with a system that can grab the data from the core of the online banking, wherever it is you're pumping it in from, and it does it automatically. You can actually have your frontline staff doing stuff that drives revenue rather than making busy calls. So without a doubt, digital onboarding is one of the most impactful partnerships we've made recently.
Oh, that's awesome, Matt. And I like that you brought up the fact that calculator is adjustable. We have those averages in there because some people don't quite know what figures to enter, but we can help you make it as conservative or aggressive as you like. And we'd love to work with you on it. Okay, we are really down to the final poll question. So what you've seen today is a generic campaign, right? We would love to create a customized campaign for your institution's top, strategic objective, whether it's checking activation, cross-sell, you got a digital conversion coming up. So if you're interested, just hit yes, and we'll get in touch and create something for you. And we don't need really a lot of input from you. We'll just obviously do our research and build it out. All right, we're just going to give it a few more seconds.
Great. I think we have another question in.
Yes, we do. That question is, do we find pushback if FIs happen to have a lot of older customers? Todd, I want to hear what you have to say, but I know for a fact that the answer is no, that I think there's a myth that people over, let's define older. I'm over 50, or people over 60 or whatever. No, they absolutely use digital channels. I think the trick is you got to make them easy to use. So if you've got something that's clunky, if you've got an email that doesn't provide any help, it's probably not going to go very far. But Ted, what do you have to say on the matter?
Yeah, I mean, just quite honestly, I have not heard any pushback. So the direct answer would be no, haven't had any pushback from people with older customer segments. And I would agree with Laurie. Yeah, I think that people of all ages are using Zoom now, using text messaging now. Everyone has an iPhone of all ages. So we have not heard any pushback from that. All right.
Great. I just
Laurie,
wanted...
can I add something to that?
Yes.
Yeah, I was just going to say we're in rural area and we have a lot of old elderly people in our market and as customers, and we feel like it's going to be really important for our CSRs to talk about this program and even demonstrate getting on it, and how quickly, because it's all in one place, it's going to be easier for our older customers because they do all have phones. And I think that in not having to have account numbers and all that right handy, I think that this will be an easy product for them to utilize.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And as we said earlier, most customers go live in a month, 2 months, maybe at the most. So we can get you results quickly. If you decide later that you are interested in taking a deeper look at the platform, you can request a demo. You can actually schedule it on our website. You can email us or give us a ring. We're so happy that you're here or that you came today, and you'll get the recording, like I said, by the end of the day Friday.
Great. Thanks everyone so much. Really appreciate your time. Enjoy the rest of your Wednesday. And we're really looking forward to hopefully working with some of y'all.
And thanks to Matt and Sara. I appreciate your time.
Yes,
Thanks,
thanks for
y'all.
having us.
Thanks for having us.